When you say,
All right, Paul. I'm going to introduce this.
huh?
This is my class.
Oh,
This is me trying to make a impromptu video of this interview about swing music and swing dance, and the questions
yeah.
that are prepared for the interview.
Yeah, did you have a favorite band? Right?
Yes.
Back then, bands were bands. They played music that you could understand. Not a bunch of howling and screaming and, and jumping up and down. They were musicians. I'm sure you listened to some of that old music, right?
Yes, I like it a lot.
And that's what I still like. I don't understand but to each his own. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
I agree.
And the best bands back in those days were, like Harry James, Glenn Miller, the Miller Boys, Lon Monroe. I mean, go on. So far as there was a lot of and good, and like I say, they're still good.
Oh no, they're
But they don't have big bands like they used to,
right.
because I mean, hell, it'd be as many as 40 guys in the big bands, and when a guy was making $40 a week, he was happy as a pig in poop, So anyway, those are basically, you can name them. Just about all of them were good, but some of them were the tops, you know. And then what else here? Where were your favorite songs? Oh God, they were all favorite songs. To name, Dave, to name a song, that's not possible. There was too many of them that were good, and they're still good. And hell, I got albums, 33s, I must have 6,000, 7,000 of the albums.
You still have them?
Yeah, oh yeah, and I probably got recordings of every big band and all this swing music and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And you take the songs back then. They were dancing, waltz dancing, and so forth, and romantic, and you could understand what they were saying, and they had some meaning, and it wasn't full of cuss words and all that other garbage that it's just such a big difference. But like everything else, as time marches on, things change. What probably what I liked when I was a young guy, and my wife liked. Somebody was saying, the old timers would say, "Oh, that's not, that's crazy dancing and stuff."
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then it's his favorite radio shows for swing music. Well, radio music and radio programs, they'd have the music in there in a radio. What do they call them? Shows, I guess. And the bands that played were the popular bands, but they were background music, or they were people that the band leaders that were part of the show and so forth, and they played. You'd hear the background music all the time, and it's let's. I'm trying to remember the names of some of the shows that featured the swing music and the good music that I keep repeating myself. But and then it says here, did you go to dances? Yeah, go to dances. There's dances where just like today, they have dances everywhere, and but I was a country boy, and most everything took place in the community house, and somebody had a big barn. You'd have barns and the music there, and of course, and then the big bands would they were touring the country, and you'd go to see them and listen to them like they do today, where people do that, and the dance would take place. It would be swing music, jitterbugging, and as I said before, and regular, just romantic, slow dances, and then they'd also have some of the Latin music in there. What do we call them? Oh, I can't. It's I have a hard time remembering names. I know what I'm saying, but
Right.
I can't. It's just like, hey, you could introduce me to a friend of yours. And 15 minutes later, I wouldn't remember his name, but I can name every kid that I went to grade school 70 years ago. I know them, but you know what I mean. Pops right out. But it says here, who did you dance with? Well, you dance with the gals, and my wife and I, we knew each other since we were kids, like 12 years old, and we got married. It was in the 50s, or 1950, and when she passed away, it would have been our 63rd anniversary, and I guess I did a lot of dancing with her. You end up with 5 kids. You took some time outs,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And where would you dance? Well, I told you they would
Barn.
be, yeah.
Barn dances.
Yeah, and back in them days, it'd be you just like they do now. The Elks Club has a night that they dance, and the Men's Club, and so forth. The churches, and it was social gathering, what you call social dancing, and that was part of the deal. Dancing and schmoozing and eating, and the gals all would bring goodies and so forth, Yeah. And then what kind of dance did you do that would swing? Well, like I say, the big one was the jitterbugging, and you've seen it. If you watch old movies.
Well, I looked online
Huh?
I looked online to try to do a little bit of research before coming over here to talk to you.
Yeah.
But it's pretty extensive. I did look at the jitterbug. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, you could.
You think so?
Sure, you could. If you could dance.
Well, that's why I'm taking the class. Maybe I would learn.
Yeah, I mean, if you dance, you can learn any kind of a dance. I still dance. You know what I mean?
Can you show me what the jitterbug looks like?
I'm not gonna do that.
Okay.
No. But like I say, if you watch some of the old movies on what is there one channel that shows them old movies?
TMC, I think.
Yeah, something
Turner
like
Classic
that.
Movies.
I can't remember. It's what the hell's his name? The guy that multi-millionaire, billionaire that has the one that they have his station. No commercials. It's 97, I think, Channel 97. Will show old movies, and some of them, like, if you look in a directory, they had some was loaded with dancers, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers and all the old time dancers. And they did every kind of dance, and really, and that's where you'd see what it is, and if you want to learn to dance those dances, you just watch them, just like you would any of the modern dances today. I go to, no, very seldom anywhere, but sometimes I go with my daughters, to a wedding reception or something, and they're playing all kind of music that I never heard before. But I watch, and then one of my daughters or my dear friends, they say, "Pop, you want to dance?" And they're surprised that I can pick that up, but you learn it, and it's a lot of fun. Just like everybody's having a lot of fun doing things the way they do it now. But
Yeah.
not to be repetitious, keep repeating that, but then I always say, hey, to each his own. That's not for me, you know what I mean? But when the occasion arises and you're there and you get in the mood, that's if you can still move when you get to be over 39.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did you wear when dancing to swing music? Well, if you look, like I say, if you look at some of the old movies and see people dancing, they're not dancing like they're going to a Halloween party, today with their knees ripped out and the pants hanging down or and all that. You wear like a jacket and slacks, and everybody always wore a necktie. 99% of the time.
So this, I would be underdressed.
Huh?
Right now, with jeans on, I would be underdressed to go
Nobody
swing.
wore jeans when they went out socially then. That was when you was milking the cows and cleaning up after them and so forth,
Wow.
you wore the jeans, really. And like in the farm towns like I grew up in, you'd wear your, back then when Levi dungaree jeans cost you $4.95 and now they're $49.95.
Yeah.
Same time of pants up there made in China now.
Right.
But it was acceptable. Clean ones, not they had to be clean, like dress pants, and that was all right. But you had a shirt and tie on, none of these raggy muffin stuff that you see today they wear, and that's hardly anybody gets dressed today.
Yeah.
You watch the kids go to school; they look like they're going to the beach or they're going to someplace. And back then, if you look at all the old-time pictures and so forth, you'll notice something. You see the kids lined up, class pictures and that. Girls are all wearing dresses. Boys are wearing neckties, knicker pants, or long pants. And that's the way they went to school. It wasn't. They didn't get dressed special for it. That's the way you went to school. Yeah, and that's things change. Some of these kids, like I say, what is it, Halloween, what the hell does this say? That's a dance. Any references regarding hats for swing music and dance? You didn't wear a hat. The only time if you wore a hat, it wasn't like you wear a stupid hat and wear it backwards, like they do today. And if it was square dancing, which is country western square dancing, which they started picking up on that again a few years back here. People said, "Oh wow, this is fun," like line dancing and that. And you wear a western hat then, and.
Did the women wear hats?
Huh?
Did the women wear hats?
Not while they were dancing, unless they were at a social event where a wedding reception or something. Then they were all dressed. They always wore hats. A woman had to have a hat on. You look there again. You look at the old movies. They wear hats. You know, I mean, even the old westerns. The women, if they were going to town, they wore a hat. You know, and but that's now the only comment I see is ball caps, and they wear them instead of wearing them like the only people who were supposed to wear a hat backwards was
The
catcher,
umpire.
huh?
The catcher. Yeah.
A catcher,
Yeah.
a welder, and a jockey boy.
Yeah.
That's the guys that wore their hats backwards,
Yeah.
keep them from blowing off.
Yeah.
But not now. I mean, that's
Or
the stuff.
for the catcher, he had to wear it backwards for the face mask,
Yeah,
so the ball didn't hit him in the
Yeah,
face.
it's if you don't if you wear your hat like you should wear it,
And keep the sun out.
well, what's
Or the rain.
You're a freak. You know what I mean? Yeah, I still wear ball caps, but you'll never see me wear it sideways, backwards.
I wear mine
worn it
forward,
that
too.
way. Well, like I say, when I was catching, playing ball, you know. But there again, a lot of things change. Yeah. What kind of a car did you have during the time to swing music? And well, you had everything. Basically, Dave, back then, when swing music was popular, it's in the 20s and 30s and 40s, but then the period that I grew up in was dancing and so forth was in the 40s and 50s, late 40s and 50s, 60, early 60s, and then it went to hell. But cars, Model A's, back in the late 20s and 30s, dated cars where you'd pay $10 for, $20. You see the Model A Roadsters now that they get $8,000, $9,000 for one of junk that they're going to restore with the rumble seats. Yeah, I bought them back then at the most I ever paid for one of them was maybe $20, and the rumble seat was loaded with spare tires and tools and everything else. And you had when you that was the days that oil, 2 quarts for a quarter. They called it twofer, two for a quarter. Now, it costs me $5 for a quart of oil. The synthetic oil you're supposed to use now, and that's $5 a bottle, And hey, everything else is crazy like that. But and I had back in the late 40s, in 47, 48, 49, 59, we did a lot of racing then, like NASCAR. Myself and a few of my buddies, we were racing cars back then in the old quarries and sand pits and so forth before the big time racing came along outside of Indianapolis, and you built them. You've seen the old race cars, the old coupes mostly, from the 30s and 40s, and the best car I had that I bought right after the war was a 1938 Ford convertible. Man, that was, and put the dual exhaust on it, and the chrome under the hood, and all. And when you drove that car around, and most guys didn't have a sharp car like that, and the only car that back then that was a family car was the one that your father had, and you didn't drive it; he drove it, and he used it for work. You're going someplace, you thumb a ride or get a ride with somebody that's got a little old junk. You know what I mean? But and it was just like today, I guess. It was great. The gals liked the guy that had a nice car too, or some kind of transportation, But that was there. Like I say, it could be any kind of a car in the 30s to a brand new car. Back then, believe it or not, I was talking about it the other night. It was over my daughter Dale's house, and on television there was a movie, and Dale said, "Hey, Dad, there's a car just like you had," and she pointed at a 1972 Chevy Impala that I bought. Shit, it's not the Chevy place anymore down in Wayne, but it was funny because I didn't intend to buy that car. I took a friend of mine down there to pick up his car that was being serviced and had to wait. So I knew the guys down there and I went in the showroom and I say, "Oh man, look at this 1972 Impala, red, genuine leather seats, white roof, white wall tires." I said, "Oh man, this is something." So I was sitting in it. I got in it and I said, "Oh gee, this is comfortable." And Bernie, the owner of the place at the time, he comes up and he says to me, he said, "PJ," he says, "you look good in that." He says, and this was in August. He says, "the new ones will be coming out." He says, "in this floor room special." He said, "I'll give you a special price on it." I said, "What are you going to charge me for?" He said, "Well, come on in the office." I said, "I'm just asking. I ain't buying, right?" He gets the pen. He says, "Well," he says, "I give it to you for $2,600. I said, "You said you're going to get rid of it. The new models are coming out. You're going to get them any time." I said, "You're a real car salesman." I said, "I got $2,200 I'll give you for it." He said, "Sold. $2,200. You can't get a tune-up or a new transmission for that anymore."
No, you can't get
You know that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But anyway, the big difference was, and in 19, let's see, it was back when I got rid of the 38 Ford convertible. I bought a 1947 Ford Coupe, new. It didn't cost $2,000, like $1,800, something like that. Imagine that? Yeah, but then forget, back then, when a guy, the average pay was $40, 45, 48.
A week?
Back in right after the war. That's
A week or
a week.
Or a month? A week.
A week.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good money then. Back then. In the 40s, you know, back in that time. If you was making $100 a week, well, you were top of it, and $200. But what the hell? Houses back then was it under $10,000, and then they started going up and going up and going up. The hell, in 1954, when my wife and I bought this place, I can't remember if it was 7,200 or 7,400 for the house, you know. I mean, it cost that much to put new roof on now, shingles. But, and you know what, Dave? You think about it. Just like now, you go to the grocery store. If you went to do a week's grocery shopping for the family, you had $20 in your pocket. You could get a shopping cart loaded and plus. Now, I mean, a loaf of bread back there was 10, 12 cents. Still a pound, one loaf of bread. Gas, I still got receipts from because I had a business and I threw a bunch of shit away here in the last couple of years, and back in hell, it was in the 60s, 64, 65, 66. I was buying gas from George up here, and it was 27.9, and then it went up to 31.9. Some of the receipts, gas, and it's still a gallon. Look at what you're paying now. I mean, it didn't get any bigger. You just have to walk around with more money, but you don't get any more. The hell, you get 3 oranges for $1, $1.25. I used to get a basket like that full for $1.50. It don't make sense, does it? When you think about it, it just keeps going up and up and up. Yeah. Oh hell, I got off the track here. And what kind of car? What did they consider bad about swing music and dance?
Did your parents like swing music?
What's that?
Did your parents like swing music?
My parents?
Yes.
Yeah. They were with it. In other words, they not like, you know, not this crazy business, but they understood. You know, I mean, and my father was a musician as well as he had a business, contracting business. But I mean, back in them days, there again, they'd be 8, 10, 12 guys. They'd form a band and they'd play socials and church deals, and they didn't charge, or they got a donation, you know what I mean, like that. And they played good music too. And my father played the trumpet and the cornet, and an uncle could play anything with strings on it, you know what I mean, banjos, guitars, bass, anything, you know what I mean, like that. And I don't think anybody ever took a lesson back then either. Well, today a lot of them don't either, but, well, they don't have to, because, you know, they just bang away. You don't know what the hell they're playing. And everybody's hollering, so, you know. But anyway, times have changed. Yeah. Let's see. What you consider bad about swing music? I can't think of anything that I considered bad about it. It wasn't wild and crazy. It might have been to the older folks, you know, like I'm saying today. But I'm one of them people that really, like I say, to each his own. If that's what you like, I'm not going to tell you, oh, Dave, you like that shit? Hey, you like it? That's fine. You listen to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll listen to what I want. You listen. That's why they got dials on the radio. You know, you can change the station.
Choose.
You don't have to. You know, you don't have to listen to it. But you ain't gonna listen to it on my radio. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're gonna listen to it on your radio. But that's it. I mean, like, well, let me get this here. What are some of the favorite memories related to swing music and dance? Well, I did just go through some of that with you, you know what I mean? It's a lot of fun, and well, a big deal was then back that you go to Asbury Park, you know where Asbury Park is, down the shore. That was the big place for if you were gonna go to the shore, Asbury Park was it. And they had, and they still there. On the ocean front, on the boardwalk, what the hell do you call them? Where, see the, I know what I want
That's
to say.
okay. Take your time.
Yeah, it's. The casino, they called it. They didn't gamble, but they called it casino because it was like going to to watch a ball game. what do you call the damn indoor stadium?
Stadium?
You know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, anyway, where you go there and the big bands would play there. There'd be a different one every week.
Like a
and,
concert hall? A
Concert. Yeah, that's what they have, the concerts, and that's what they and they dance. I mean, the band would be there, and you'd and it would be like it was indoors, like if you went to a basketball game in the
Auditorium?
yeah, and the seats went up like
Okay.
Jesus Christ, I can't remember the
That's
name.
okay.
I know, I mean, but anyway, you'd get there and you dance to when the bands played, or you'd listen if it was just listening music, you know, and nothing crazy, but that Asbury Park was the place. That was like going to Atlantic City when Atlantic City was doing well. You know what I mean? Atlantic City always did well, even before the gambling for conventions and so forth. But that's as far as you had to go south, because there was no Garden State Parkway. There was none of that. It was just all roads. You know, Route 37 was the route that went all the way down. But you take and it was that's where who was that guy? He's a musician. Ah, Christ! That's where he came from. Ah, shit. And he's still playing. He came in late, but it was he's up in his 60s now. God damn it, I can't. I'll think of it. But anyway, you'd know right away who I mean. He's a liberal left winger, and but he plays what everybody wants to hear. And back then he played what everybody wanted to hear. But then he progressed with what, you know, as he got older, he became what do you want to call it? Like one of, you know.
Conservative?
Hmm?
More conservative? More conservative?
No. If anything, more,
Liberal?
yeah, more left wing.
Mm.
God damn it. Oh, anyway, I'll think of it sometime, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. Get up to take a piss. Oh, shit, that's who it is. But anyway, like I say, back then, and you drove down there, and I remember going down there one time, my buddy Alice and I had bought a 1931 Ford convertible, Model A. I bought that car, and I paid a lot of money for it. I think I can remember it. I paid $40 for it, and I says to Al, I says, you know what we got to do? What? I said, tomorrow's Saturday. We'll go to Asbury Park. Oh, yeah, you want to go to Asbury Park? Yeah, we'll go to Asbury Park. That was a long trip then, too. You know. Okay. The point I'm getting at is, I took off with the car, right? I'm smelling, man, damn, boy, it's smelling oil, Al. Yeah. Good thing I stopped, checked it. Is empty, and it was full when I started. I didn't go 30 miles when I had no. We used going down and coming back, and the round trip then from where we were was like 80 miles. So we used 12 quarts of oil.
Wow.
Go 80 miles. So what do we do? I went home.
You needed.
Huh?
You needed 6 twofers.
Yeah. Right. I said, we went to Alton Day, Cy Day's garage, and he had everything. He had a motor. I had to pay him $40 for the motor, but he guaranteed it was all right. Okay. So that night, we pulled the motor out of the other one, put the other one in. Perfect, you know what I mean? But we didn't spend 3 hours taking it out, putting it in. Now, for Christ's sake, it takes you that long to find the cap to put the oil in the damn thing, you know, on a car. But it was a big change, everything. And yeah, what were some of the favorite memories related to swing music? And yeah, we just said that. And of course, there was always the gals, you know. I mean, that's always part of it, part of growing up. But I basically had one girl all my life. I mean, other girls I knew them, but the only one I liked was Nana. You know, I mean, we got married, and that was it. And if she didn't pass away, she'd be right here now, remembering all the things that the names and so forth. She didn't forget. I do. You know, yeah, what the hell. And then this has been a close interview with swing music through the eyes. Oh.
And Paul Cardinal.
I never read that. But
that was your way of ending. That was you ending the interview, but with you saying it.
All right. Yeah, but
you can read that one out loud if you want, and then I'll stop the video.
This has been an up-close interview with swing music through the eyes of. Oh, there, that's true.
Paul Cardinal.
Huh?
Paul Cardinal. I
Yeah.
put your name on there.
But no, you know, when you call me, and I like I say, I had a problem hearing, and I thought you were saying something about swing music, and I said, what the hell is Dave talking swing? He can't be talking swing music. Why would he be talking swing music? Yeah. and then when I finally got through to me, when you said that you were taking a course, I thought, oh, okay, this is something
This is what I learned. It's I can do the steps real quick. We go back one and like that, and then like that, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
Well, you
2,
do
1, 2, and then like that.
Yeah.
And then you twist your partner
The
and
gal
spin.
spins around.
Right, and then you go back to that, and then 1, 2, 1, 2,
Right.
then 1,
And
2,
and most of the
1,
time,
2.
yeah, and you're holding on. The only time you let go is when you swing her out, and she might get away, and you dancing like this, and she dancing. She comes back at you, and you and you twist and turn.
We didn't get that far.
Well,
That's,
like I say, if
a
I can't tell you that. Hey, you can go buy a book or something, or a movie or something like that. But I do say
the movies.
you'll see it on the movies in the old, if you watch some of the old time stuff. And I'm sure if you went into if you stopped in some of these record, they still have some of the old record shops and places would carry all that. They'll have some of the old movies, and you can pick them up for a couple of bucks and
Do you have any?
It's possible that if you, like here in town, if you went to like on the nights that they have dancing going on, they have, what is that you do that with the
Karaoke.
Huh?
Karaoke? Karaoke?
Yeah, the karaoke thing. They do that on Friday nights. They have, I don't know if you've been there, but at the Elks Club, they have a dinner. It's $12. Good dinner. It's one. There's no menu. It's whatever they're having. That's it, and it's usually good. You know. And they have their karaoke, and you'll see, and it ain't a bunch of yappy, stupid kids. It's the older, you know, your age and my age and this and that, and they do a lot of the old time dancing, and you want to sing, you sing, you know, and it's. I don't know, I used to go to them, my wife and I used to go to a lot of that stuff. Well, you know, I'm going to go there myself, but that's fun, to me. To me. I might think, what the hell is that shit there? But then again, if you watch some of the old dancing, where they dance and get down, and they twist and turn it like this on our feet, and right get down to almost a kneeling position in that, and back up again, and back down again, and up, and then start going. There's a lot of the young folks don't do that or can't do that. The old bastards like me some of us can still do that, you know. And you go someplace like a wedding reception and they play something, and you get in there and you go in and they say, Jesus Christ, how old's your grandfather? You know? I can't believe it. You do this, you know. Yeah. I used to like to dance. Then again, that's what life's all about. You know, you gotta keep moving, Dave. You gotta keep moving. You can't think old. That's the thing. If you think about that you're old, yeah, you're old. I know how old I am. Oh, what do I gotta sit here and dwell on it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Christ, you know what I mean? I'm done. I'm all. You ain't done until you're done.
Right.
You know? When you're done, you're done. That's it. That's why you gotta think positive. Right, Winnie? She's 19 years old. The old girl. 1st of January, she was 19. See that pillow there? That's the pillow they give you when I had my new heart valve put in. That's the doctors, the group that do that down in Morristown Hospital. Yeah, and they give you a pillow because when people come to visit you, they sign it. You know, it's right. Yeah, like.
So what would you say is? What would you say is a good healthy diet?
Huh?
What would you say is a good healthy diet? Because a lot of people say that a long life comes from what you eat.
Eating? Yeah, you got to watch what you eat. I mean, the problem that a lot of people have is, oh yeah, Jesus Christ, this knees hurt, this hurt, that aches, okay, right? Yeah, but take a look at yourself. You're 5'6" and you weigh 280 pounds. You're carrying all that extra weight. Your knees didn't get any bigger, your ankles didn't get any bigger, you know, and that's because you're eating crap all the time. You watch people what they eat. It's I mean, I learned that a long time ago, Dave, and I like vegetables. There's a zillion ways to cook vegetables. You can make them taste like steak. You know what I mean? If you like steak.
Yeah.
I never was a big crazy guy for, you know, all that grease and crap and raw meat. You know, when you stick it with the fork, it goes, ooh, you know what I mean? It ain't even dead yet, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I like chicken and I like fish. And that's what you, or I would say, I mean, I do eat I like pot roast. A pot roast isn't raw. It's cooked, and when you can break it with a fork. You don't need to cut it like this, you know. And then because of the fact that it's work to chew a piece of meat, especially a steak, if it ain't a real good one, that you swallow it fast. Get the next piece. You know, 6, 8, 12 chomps down. And you're still hungry because why? Because you didn't get the taste. That's what I eat for. I like the flavor, the taste. And I eat slow. I'm a slow eater. I'm the last one to finish dinner. And the thing is, if you like I say, if you gobble, well, you're still hungry because you didn't have enough. Just like one of the things that I learned, and that was when I first had the heart problem, and Doc Seepser, he's still my same doctor for 33 years, and he explained a lot of things to me that I didn't know before, didn't do before, and so forth. And like after I had my 5 bypasses, that was 33 years ago, he gave me we had to sit down, spent a few hours with me, and he talked about the no-nos. And I said, what do you mean the no-nos? He said, I'm going to give you a no-no list, he said. And he went through the deal about, the first thing was diet and how to eat. And he asked me if, you know, what I enjoyed eating and so forth, and how did I eat, blah, blah, blah. Make a long story short, he says, well, he says, some of the things that you said that you like, he says in particular, you mentioned some of the desserts, and the number one was cheesecake, which I like cheesecake. He says, that's a big no-no. I says, what do you mean it's a big no-no? He says, you shouldn't eat it all. I said, oh man. He says, but, he says, I don't want you to pig out like you told me you do. But if you do eat a piece of cheesecake, he said, try this. He said, does your wife like cheesecake? I said, yeah, she likes cheesecake. But hell, Nana was only 5 foot tall. She weighed 115 pounds, you know what I mean? She was in great shape. And she could eat a big piece of cheesecake, you know, and it didn't bother her. So he says to me, he says, well, when you have cheesecake, he said, have an agreement with her that you can have the first piece off that wedge, about an inch and a half at the max back, he says, and that big, he says, put it in your mouth, he says, chew it, don't swallow it. He says, savor it, roll it around, get all that flavor out of it. He says, and don't swallow it until she finishes her big piece. And I looked at him and I says, he says, think about it, he says, what you really like about the cheesecake is the flavor. You know, stuff it like, he said, you ever watch a hungry dog eat?
Oh, wow.
And
so by eating slow, you enjoy your food.
You enjoy it, and that's what you want to do. You don't have to eat so much. Why have, like he says, you like pizza pie? I says, yeah, I like pizza pie. Don't everybody like pizza? No, everybody don't like everything pizza. But the fact is, he says, if you get a piece of pizza pie, a big piece like that, he says, basically, one big slice is enough if you eat it properly.
Right.
He says 2 at the most if you you know, but not a half a pie or 4 slices. Well, you know, he says you want the flavor. There again, he explained it. You want the flavor. If you satisfy your taste buds, you don't want another piece. You feel full. By the time, he says, you watch some people, they grab a piece of pie, it ain't even on the table. The guy's setting the tray down and somebody's grabbing a piece. And they flop it over and they stuff their mouth. By the time the fourth person takes a piece of pie, they're ready for the second piece. He says, and what happens? They blow up and they have problems, and then you're going to have problems normally. You can get knee joint problems, he said, but the chances are that if you watch your weight and you don't carry all that extra, he says to me, he says, you're in great shape, no problem. He says, but stay that way. He says, now he says, just picture this. He says, in our discussions, you told me you do what you do a lot of things, you had your own business, blah, 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 and then what you do all your work at home, and you do stone work and stuff at home and that, and he says, when you go down to lumberyard and pick up stuff, do you have them loaded for you and unloaded? No, it's a hell I could. He says, yeah. He says, well, I do that too. He says, just like you. He lives down at Glenwell Lake. He says, he says, if you're doing some concrete work and you could pick up a 60-pound bag of concrete. I said, oh, I can do the 90 pounds, Doc. I said, what's the big deal? He says, well, if you can pick it up and you can carry it and you don't have any problem with that, he says, just picture you 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight picking up an extra 60 pounds and walking, if you can. He says, what is it doing to your knees and your ankles? Because knock wood, Dave, I don't have no problems. No problems. And he explained things, that made sense. So I say to a few of my friends that bitch about the fact that, oh, Christ, this hurts, that hurts. Hey, asshole. What do you you look at yourself, for Christ's sake. I said, because one of my friends is here, and I was unloading 10 bags of concrete, and I was carrying them into the back.
Yeah.
And he says, Jesus Christ, PJ, he says, how old are you? And he says, what's the difference? He says, I'm watching you carrying that stuff back there. He said, why don't you get your boys or something? I said, what for? They got other things to do. I can carry you, Oh, man, I said, I can't carry that shit. My back, listen, your back hurts because when you ain't carrying the concrete, you carry your big ass around, and that's wearing you out, you know what I mean? It's flat out. He asked me, I'm telling you, right?
Right.
So he said, well, you're not, when you get to be my age, but he's 12 years younger than me, and he's telling me when I get to be his age, I'll find out that it ain't that easy, shit. What the hell? I weigh 155 pounds now. And when I was 17 years old, I joined the Navy. I was a couple inches taller. You get shorter when you get older. I didn't know that until my pants. I started walking on my pants. I said, what the fuck? I got so many other pants on here. Because, hey, I've shrunk. And that's what Doc told me. He says, yeah. He says, that happens. He says, the older you get, the more you...
Right.
Right? So he says, you find these things out, I mean, what do I have to say? at that time I was five. I think it was 5'10". Yeah, 5'10", and I weighed 170 pounds. I weigh 150. I weigh 20 pounds less now, but I had a 29-inch waist then and a 42 chest. But things changed. You know what I mean? The waist is. I can still wear 34s, but you know, it's. But you know, you should basically try to keep it that way, because if you're interested in
living
in your health and how you feel, and it affects everything, whether you know, like I'm saying, if you can't do things, I do everything myself. If I need help, I'll ask for it. My son-in-law is down, you know. But I tell Terry, I want you to help me. I'm gonna move something around. Like take us 15, 20 minutes, and then you go about your business. I don't need you to stay here and help me. Don't be afraid that when you see me, I'm gonna be asking you to do something. You know. Yeah. And same with my boys. Frank, he's the same way. He said, Dad, you should, you know, why don't you let me do it next week? I said, I don't want to do it next week. I'll do it next week. I'll be doing something else. I got to do this here. All these freaking stone walls and stuff around here I built myself over the years, you know.
I saw back in the backyard, like you can see from the road, the backyard. It's like you got a a beautiful garden.
I don't. Hey, there's times that, like in the old days, everybody used to work together. Or there was ever a lot of neighbors here, but everybody knew each other. If if you needed a new shingle roof, you get the shingle, you get the stuff. Dave, Kevin, Terry, myself, Frank, we get together. We'll take the old one off, put the new one on this weekend. It's a case of beer or maybe 2 cases, depends on if you have to go overtime. And the gals will make sandwiches, and that's it.
Community.
Yeah, but now, I don't know. But anyhow, I hope that helped you a little bit.
It did, and I think that I think that everybody or anybody who gets to see the video
What is that?
from school, that's my phone.
Huh?
It's my phone.
Oh. Yeah, I know that. I know what that. Oh shit! That's what Dale's got a
Smartphone.
like that. That
record, take pictures and stuff
takes
like that.
movies and pictures and something else.
Isn't it?
You know, if they'd have come out with all this stuff 40 years ago or more, I don't know all about it. But I ain't even interested today.
I know.
The closest I get.
That's
hey.
like me. They have a program on the computer. They call it Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm not even interested.
Yeah. Well, see, the same thing. Now, computers. I bought a computer about 15, 12 years ago. Yeah, it's 12 years ago. And because I was interested in, a friend of mine out in Pennsylvania has a business, an antique business, and he says, him and his wife run it. He does the manual stuff, she does the brain stuff, the computer, that. And they do a business, and I told him, I said, Chuck, I said, how do you know, when I come in, he's out in the farm country. Big barn, this and that. I said, I don't hardly ever see anybody here. He said, I don't need them here. He says, this is Pennsylvania. He said, these people here are all antique happy. They shop where they want to, this and that. He says, there isn't a state in the country that we don't ship something to.
Oh wow!
Because I did notice that he has the back room of the building there. got a lot of cart. You know, there always somebody working in there. And he said, yeah, they do a couple hundred deals a week on a computer. What do you call that? What
the internet.
Huh?
Oh, the internet. The internet.
Well,
eBay.
eBay, yeah. Well, that's what I got interested in because I said, hey, he said to me, yeah, he says, Bernice will she'll tell you about how it works and that, his wife, and she explained to me, but it was a whole different new language to me, what she was saying. I didn't understand the this, the that, the deet, the that, and she's a gal that talked pretty fast too, you know, and so I said, she said, get a computer. She says, you don't have to spend a lot of money, and I think I spent $500 or 600 or something. And I bought the computer, and she said she'd show me how to use it. Well, I didn't know how I don't know what the hell she was talking about. And then my oldest son's buddy, he's a wizard on the computer. He travels all over the country, sets up places like Home Depot, their system and that, you know. And Tommy he's a piece of work. And he came here and he was explaining to me, set it up and this and that. And make a long story short, he started telling me and showing me and this. Oh, Christ, Tommy, slow down. Well, listen, I'll write it down. Yeah, he wrote as fast as he talked, you know, when he left me all the notes. And what the hell is this? I didn't know a simple thing like when he left. And I'm reading, it says here, what the hell is this? What's that? And the one thing that got me was, he said, oh, he kept referring to your PC, your PC. It had something to do with pissing. It was, he's talking about your personal computer. Mm-hmm. My grandson, Frankie's kid, when he was 5 years old, probably it was, because he's a little wizard, and he's in his teens now, but he says, you know, I said, Henry, I said, you use your mom's computers? Oh yeah, he says, we got her, you know, and daughter-in-law, she's sharp, so it's Frank. They all are with the, but anyway, he says, yeah. I said, well, can you tell me what Tommy wrote down here? Do you understand this? I mean, let me test you. I didn't want to tell him I didn't know what it means.